We used to think the only way to stop wild boars was to chase them down. But the more we chased, the more the herd vanished, only to return later, even harder to control. After paying the price a few times, we realized something counterintuitive. The first thing to do is stop the chase. It sounds unbelievable when fields are ripped apart and fences constantly torn down. But the harder you press, the smarter they get, changing their patterns. So we switch tactics, stop the pressure, start guiding. And it's that very retreat that opened the door to a sustainable, effective way to manage them. Here's how. Wild boars aren't just strong, they're sharp and quick learners. Every strange sound, lingering human scent, or half-finished intervention becomes a warning. After a few negative encounters, surviving pigs remember and adjust the behavior of the entire herd. They shift their activity times, split into smaller groups, take longer detours, and even scout new areas first. Repeated disturbances unintentionally teach the herd to adapt faster, making them more unpredictable. We realized, to truly solve the problem, the herd must feel the environment has returned to normal. Only then will their natural behavior show itself. From the moment we stopped the chase, the real work began. Stopping the pursuit doesn't mean doing nothing. On the contrary, observation becomes the key. Newly turned soil, deepened trails along the forest edge, gaps between tree clusters, all indicate fixed routes the herd must take. No matter how cautious they are, habits still dictate their movements. These natural gateways force the pigs to pass through. Once these paths are mapped, all that's left is to place control systems in the right spots and wait patiently.
Okay. That's good. He's got a little bloody nose.
Silence becomes the most powerful tool. No strange sounds, no signs of repeated intervention. Everything returns to the familiar rhythm of the area. Then, from the forest edge, dark shapes slowly emerge. They follow the same trails observed days before. One pig stops to sniff the wind. The whole herd freezes for a heartbeat, the kind of moment that could ruin everything if you rush. But with no pressure, they move on. And that's when the gateways do their work. That moment is a clear confirmation. Remove the pressure, and natural behavior guides the herd into the control area. Every control system is triggered at the right time. Everything unfolds orderly, precisely, exactly as planned.
Come on, hey! Not yet. Get on. Hey, hey. Okay.
The don't chase, let them come strategy isn't luck, nor is it constant pressure. It's a game of observation, discipline, and timing. When we stop leaving human scent, making noise, and intervening halfway, the herd stops learning to avoid us, and their natural habits reveal themselves. The key lesson: don't chase the herd, control the path. Calmly read the signs, set boundaries in the right spots, and patiently wait. That's how you create lasting stability for the farm while reducing unnecessary conflict. This content focuses on management and safety. All measures must comply with local regulations and ideally be conducted with experienced guidance. When the city falls asleep, another world begins to move. Under the dim glow of streetlights, herds of wild boars emerge. They quietly cross the streets, pushing deeper into residential areas. They tear up gardens, search for food, and roam freely through places once considered safe human spaces. Videos recorded by residents reveal a troubling shift. Wild boars no longer stop at the forest edge. They now appear on city streets, inside neighborhoods, even right in front of people's homes. When the boundary between urban life and wildlife becomes blurred, the issue is no longer just property damage. It becomes a matter of human safety. When wild animals lose their fear of humans, risk begins to grow exponentially. This is not just a story about wild boars. These images raise a much larger question. How are we managing the shared space between humans and nature? And how can we protect our way of life while still preserving the balance of the natural world? Follow us as we continue this challenging journey. From before dawn, Martin, one of the most respected wild boar hunters in the region, was already at the trap site he had set days earlier. More than just a skilled marksman, Martin is known in the local community as a pioneer in using smart trapping systems to control wildlife safely and responsibly. Today's mission posed a serious challenge, a highly alert sounder of wild boar, and the team's responsibility was not to injure them, but to guide them back toward the forest without harm. The core strategy was pre-baiting, allowing the boar to become familiar with the trap site before any activation. The team used fermented corn and sweet bait, since wild boar find almost impossible to resist. Over several days, the entire sounder grew accustomed to the location and the food source, significantly increasing trap effectiveness while minimizing stress and panic. When the trap is finally triggered, the likelihood of capturing the entire group at once, rather than scattering individuals, makes the operation safer, faster, and far more efficient. Effective control does not come from haste, but from staying one step ahead. Martin uses Boar Buster, a modern trapping system designed specifically for wild boar and now widely deployed across the United States. Unlike traditional methods, Boar Buster allows an entire sounder to be controlled with a single activation, minimizing panic and greatly reducing the risk of boars scattering into nearby residential areas. For Martin, operating a trap is never just a technical procedure. Each activation is a responsible decision, tied directly to maintaining ecological order and protecting the everyday safety of the community. Before triggering the system, Martin carefully checks every factor: the trap's placement, the direction from which the boar approach, and the most appropriate moment to activate. Thanks to the pre-baiting process, allowing the boar to become familiar with the trap site over several days, when the entire sounder arrives, the system can be triggered with precision, keeping stress and unnecessary risk to an absolute minimum. Once the boar are securely contained, the team relocates them to a legally designated management area, ensuring the operation remains safe, controlled, and does not disrupt nearby residents. This is where technology, field experience, and patience converge. No rushed reactions, no loss of control, only proactive intervention to prevent damage, protect the community, and preserve balance within the local ecosystem.
Let's go, hip. Let's go, hip, hip. Get in there, hip, hip. Hip, 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 hip. Yeah, we gotta screw that to the bottom.
The operation didn't just bring wild boar under control, it restored peace of mind to families and the wider community. In a world where wildlife is increasingly encroaching on residential areas, smart, humane, and properly licensed solutions are the path towards sustainable management. Wildlife management is not a battle between humans and nature. It is how modern society brings together science, law, and responsibility to protect both communities and ecosystems. Early in the morning, during a routine check around the farm, we noticed fresh soil torn up along the fence line. Deep hoofprints in the damp ground, combined with nighttime camera footage showing unusual movement, confirmed one thing clearly: wild hogs were moving in close to the cropland. They hadn't entered the field yet, but once hogs reach this distance, there is no room for waiting. In land management, delayed response often means heavy losses. Just one night, a single sounder of wild hogs can wipe out an entire season's harvest. It was time to act. Wild hogs are highly adaptable animals. They move fast, operate in groups, and constantly search for the smallest weakness in any defense system. One gap, one night, and an entire field can be destroyed. When hogs break in, the damage goes far beyond broken crops. Irrigation systems can be ruined, soil structure destroyed, roots torn out, losses that can affect multiple growing seasons. That's why prevention is always more effective than reaction. Deploying traps at this stage allows us to stay ahead of the problem, controlling risk before real damage occurs. At this point, chasing hogs away would only push the sounder to change direction and return later. Waiting would mean allowing the risk to grow beyond control. The chosen solution was to deploy a solid circular trap, placed directly along the travel route confirmed by both ground sign and camera footage. This approach is not about creating chaos or panicking the herd into running toward another area. On the contrary, traps allow the hogs to be contained within a defined space, minimizing risk to people, livestock, and surrounding property. The single objective is clear: stop wild hogs from crossing into cultivated land. trap was firmly anchored into the ground. All locking points, connections, and overall stability were carefully checked before operation. Bait was placed precisely at the center, deep enough to force the hogs to fully enter the trap. There was no human presence left around the site, no unfamiliar scent. Everything was set up to allow the sounder to approach in the most natural way possible. Cameras continued monitoring throughout the night, confirming the moment the trap was triggered and ensuring the entire group was fully contained within the controlled area. Once activated, all exit points were immediately secured. The intrusion was stopped right at the fence line. The hogs could no longer root along the fence or search for a way into the field. The effectiveness of the trap wasn't in loud noise or confrontation, it was in stopping everything at exactly the right moment. Early the next morning, we returned to the site. The wild hog sounder was fully under control and transported according to regulations to a designated wildlife management facility. The process was carried out quickly and efficiently, ensuring safety for everyone involved while minimizing stress on the animals. All steps followed local wildlife management regulations strictly. Control is not just about stopping the problem, it's about taking responsibility for what comes afterward. It's not always necessary to wait until crops are destroyed before taking action. In many cases, deploying traps at the right moment is the deciding factor. Keeping a farm safe doesn't come from loud or aggressive actions. It comes from careful preparation, accurate decisions, and proper control from the very beginning. In farm management, acting at the right time is always more important than acting too late. Like and subscribe to continue following our journey.